Um, Today we want to talk you about the Clubwear in Amsterdam. Amsterdam itself, which is a city known for its fashion hub, for its designer culture, for the multiculture of its inhabitants. And for that, I have a very, because I myself, I have no idea about fashion. So the only thing I know is if it looks nice or not. But even that is not a real criteria. But I looked for people who know better than me. And I have here a nice panel of clubbers, influencers, shop owners. And we're looking forward to their take on the different aspects of clubwear in Amsterdam. So I will give the microphone, or every one of you has his own microphone. I let you present yourself, starting here on the left.
Hi, so I am Susie, and I'm originally from Scotland in Glasgow. And I have been clubbing for over 30 years. So I've seen the fashion evolve, and I wouldn't say I'm necessarily an expert in fashion, but wherever I go, I certainly get comments because I'm quite creative with my outfits, and I like to put in an effort when I go out. And I go about in the rave scene here, Berlin, back in Scotland. So I've had a bit of experience as well. And it can be anything from hard techno to groove techno to going to sort of fetish events as well. So I like to mix up styles. So that's essentially me.
Okay, thanks very much.
My name is Alicia. I live in Amsterdam, and since a bit more than a year, I work in a latex shop in Amsterdam, the Mask, and that's when I think the fashion side of me started to evolve a bit more, like dressing up people, seeing in what they feel comfortable, but also the combination of fetish wear and fashion, and how to dress up to parties, and how to like kind of find a way in like dressing as yourself or feeling comfortable, but also um like being part of the club scene and the club you're going to.
My name is Mairead. I'm originally from Ireland, but I've been living in Amsterdam for, I think, nearly 20 years. It's hard to tell because COVID doesn't count. And I've been working at parties, organizing parties, working at clubs like the School, Mark Canteen. I've done worked at Radion sometimes, Lo-Fi. So I've also seen a transition in the clothing and also in the way the crowds react to the clothing and the patterns people follow.
Thanks very much. Well, that's already a very nice keyword, so a transition. Well, taking in general now a little bit to take on Amsterdam. There was last month was the Amsterdam Fashion Week, so also there Amsterdam has its take in the international scene of how to show, how to present yourself. How would you say now that the last, or have any of you visited any of the shows in Amsterdam Fashion Week?
Unfortunately not. I've been busy studying at the moment, so I had a slight time out from the scene.
No, I also didn't visit any of the shows. I did see some stuff on social media, and on one hand, I really like to see all the new stuff, but I'm also quite curious, and I want to like support people to see what they already have, and like how can we use what we have in clothing and use that to make like new fashion statements instead of only like producing all the new stuff and getting all these new trends. And I think it's also like who you are as a person and what a certain trend means to you. So I did see a lot, but yeah.
Well, I have attended a couple of music fashion events, so not fashion week, so to speak, but I've noticed recently there's a lot of combination within the underground music scene of fashion and music. And there's been a few platforms where they encourage people who are interested in clubbing and fashion, and they create events where these young people can design their clothes and sell their clothes to people who are interested in both. So I've been going to those sort of events.
Okay, super interesting. Uh, in general, then the clubbing scene in Amsterdam, it varies. So also Amsterdam is a tourism hotspot. I think it's my last research. I think it was on number 3 in the world of most visited countries worldwide. Does the tourist scene, so the lot of people coming, buying different clothes, have an impact in any way of how the club wear when you go out will be influenced? So because there are trends like, I don't know, newer kind of clothing because of the EDM, a lot of LED lights. People might buy them these because they think this is the way to dress up. Go out in the club, stay at the door, and the door policy will then come and say, okay, that might not be for you tonight. Is that something you experience?
I know exactly what you're speaking about. I remember my first trip to Berghain and standing in the queue, having the sweats, thinking, am I techno enough? So I do recognise that. Very fortunate for me, I do my research before I go out and I have my style, which has evolved, like everybody says, it's evolved, it's transitioned, and I try to recycle clothes as well rather than just constantly buying new and accessorising. But I've seen people where they go to the door and they're getting the knockback, but for me, it's not so much about the clothes, it's more about the attitude. So I think as long as someone is comfortable in the clothes they're wearing, when it be neon or fishnet mesh or fetish, as long as you know what the event is, as long as you feel comfortable in your own skin, I don't think there's actually a problem for most places. Again,
But you mentioned now Berghain, if I can then. Did you get in then with the fashion style that you designed?
yes, first time.
Perfect. Because
Yeah, I really recognize what you're saying, that it's more about confidence and attitude and how you act and how you feel and maybe who you are than how you dress up, because it's super easy to like just go to a store and say, hey, I do like that dress, that's a latex dress, I can get into this club with a latex dress, and then just go in. But I think clubbing is not only about how you look, but also how you act and the attitude you have and like supporting each other. And yes, of course, at some clubs there is a dress code or something, but that's also to see if people did their research and to like, yeah, make people put a little bit of effort in there. But I don't think that if you, for example, don't fully fit to the dress code, but your attitude is like very much clear on how the club is or something, then yeah, you can still get in. So
Well, I would say that places like Berghain and Berlin, and now especially Amsterdam, they've kind of influenced how people are dressing in when they go back to their countries. So I would say Amsterdam and Berlin have been inspiring when people go back to their countries. So they're setting the trends here. As for people like going into a store and saying, "Hey, I really like that, like that vinyl dress or whatever." I think in the techno scene, because there's a very strict consent policy, I feel like a lot of girls who want to wear this sort of dress, or a guy, or anyone in between, a person who chooses to wear these clothes, they can wear it without the assumption of like, I'm open for something. So it's a safe space to wear whatever you want, because no one's going to harass you or make assumptions based on the way you're dressed.
now, isn't not that exactly, that's nice, a nice anecdote, because you said, and then these are the trend. So people buy that kind of style. So now they go at the club, but they don't have necessarily the spirit for the club, but they look like. And then you're ending up in the club having nevertheless a mixture of people who look the same, but don't feel or express or have the mindset for the party. Is that something you say that with that's amplified now with places like Berghain?
Well, I mean, I remember working at Wasteland one time. It was in Radion, and this guy brought his girlfriend, and the dungeon mistress was standing at the door, and she didn't feel comfortable going into the space. She felt a bit pressured. The dungeon mistress was pulling her aside and saying, "If you want, we can get you out of this club. We can arrange a taxi. we can arrange to get you away from this person, because her partner or wherever she went was really kind of bugging her to go. And they said to her, well, before letting him in, they said, if you want, you can walk through, check it. If you're not comfortable, you can leave and we can take you out. We can take you out through a safe space. So
Works out, huh? Then back to the clothing itself. So I see also you three have three different style. I think all three of you would get into the techno club in Amsterdam at this point of time, but still they're very different. How do you choose your dressing? What inspires you to dress up at the specific evening? You just go, okay, this is it, or you have a different. I want to show this or that.
For me, it depends on the event, because I go to a lot of events which are quite mainstream, maybe like the large involved sessions, maybe, or wastelands. And it just depends on what the event is. Now, for example, I do the host at sex positive parties, kinky Sundays. I know I can rock up to that in one of my latex outfits that I would wear to something like Wastelands. But then if I go to like Germany, and now thanks to some net my tickets shortly before this, I'm going to something in AFAS. I would then start dressing down because I know the Techno tourists are there. And by that, I mean my experience last year in Radion, I wore head to toe fishnet suit, catsuit. It was like a timer belt band and a bikini under it. I could not move for just people stopping me every 2 seconds. You know, women complimenting and men trying to hit on me. I could not have a comfortable night. That was horrible. So I tend to just dress how I feel for my moods, and a lot of it's accessorizing. So it depends on the event. It depends on who you know is going to be there and whether or not you feel comfortable. But ultimately, it's just about being creative and mixing up fashions. So, great.
I also wanted to say it depends on which event I go to, but the only things I really dress up for are kink events. So, and then I really like thinking about what I want to wear, and then I start like maybe 2 weeks before, and then at the night before the party, I'm like, I really just don't feel like wearing this, and then it totally changes. So, for me, dressing up is really about how I feel in the moment, and sometimes I can like fall in love with a dress or something, but then I just don't feel like wearing the dress, and then it's something else. So yeah, it's really like a feeling, and also something I can't really explain to people, because then friends sometimes are like, oh, but you had this like really nice outfit you wanted to wear, and now you're wearing something fully different. And I also totally get what you're saying, that you dress up, and I do that for myself and not for the people around. But then I go to a party and people are like, oh, it's very nice. And sometimes I really like that. I mean, it's nice to hear that you look nice, right? But sometimes I'm also like, oh my God, I just want to dance. I just want to wear my, I don't know, most awful, baggy, dirty clothes now, because I just want to dance and I don't want to like talk about what I'm wearing. So I totally get that.
For me, it's about practicalities, because very often if I go to a club night, it's the first stop of the weekend. So the next stop may be a little less legal, a bit more outdoors. So you got to think about, like, am I going to be a mosquitoes all you can eat buffet? Is it going to get cold? You know, I don't want to be carrying a bag. I need something with pockets. So yeah, I often think of what am I going to be comfortable in party number 4.
But mentioning the comfortable part, it was now mentioned a few times, the parties like Wastelands, kinky. So eventually, for those who listen, not everyone might be. What does kinky dress code mean these days?
Well, depending on the specific party, a lot of them come with a dress code. So lax, leather, latex, and the door bitch will stop you and check your label. So a lot of it can come down to that. But then you've got other kinky parties like Kinky Sunday at Radion, which doesn't really have a dress code, but you just have to be respectful that people could be there wearing very little clothing, or very provocative clothing, and sometimes it can be very creative, which is why I love that event. I could go there and I could dress like this in all black, or I could go wearing a see-through, glittery black mesh dress with diamantes all over it. It makes no difference because it's just about being glam and show your own personality.
But you mentioned them, if I just made, and you mentioned them, then also the dress codes Radion, that there will be a little bit more sexual, explicit dressing. But isn't that a general trend already? Because if I'm looking the videos, let's say the boiler rooms or stuff like that, so you also see a lot of girls barely wearing something, expressing themselves. So on that level, I think it's a very nice approach. But how most of the new trend, also the hard techno trend at this moment, is somehow also associated with the similar dress code than these kinky parties.
I think it's mostly down to when you see these videos like you see them on YouTube, TikTok all the time, you girls with their bikini tops and short skirts. They're young, they're dancing, power dancing. They're doing that for comfort. And they look good. So there's a credit for it, but it's comfort.
So it's mostly comfort, not showing off?
No, well, maybe some of them are showing off, but if I do it, it's comfort. I'm sweating buckets all night long. I don't want to be ripping off layers upon layers, every time I go to the bathroom. Well, not so. They're dressing for comfort 90% of the time, I would say, because it gets hot when you're dancing that way. And they dance hard.
Yeah, I think for me, like, dressing up kinky isn't about less clothes. And I think what dressing up kinky means, it means something else to everyone. And I think that's the interesting thing about it. And if I see people dancing with as less clothes as possible, I'm not like, oh my God, you look very sexy, or oh my God, you look very kinky. I'm like, right, yeah, fine, you're almost naked. Okay, you're just the human body. So yeah, maybe for some people it's about comfort or showing off. I mean, that's also fine. Some people dress up to show off. But dressing kinky for me is just like to feel sexy in my own body. And I think, or I hope at least for a lot of people, it means that. And if I want to feel kinky myself, I have to feel sexy and full of confidence. And sometimes that means, for me, that never means dressing up less. But for some people, that means dressing up less. And for some people, that means covering themselves in full latex or leather or whatever. And I think that's the interesting thing about kinky parties and dressing up kinky.
But I also think there's a paradigm shift over the years on how the perception of, especially when it comes to the female form, because many years ago, like 20 or so years ago, if a girl was wearing a short dress or a short skirt, they were considered a slut. And girls always had to dress in a way that they wouldn't get harassed, that, it wouldn't be like, oh, she deserved to get raped type thing. So I think there's been a change over the years. And it's not like when people like girls are now women are and everyone is just deciding to wear what they want to wear because there is less judgment and assumption on what they're wearing.
So it's a sign of freedom?
It's progress, certainly, because people just don't assume if Susie walks in with a latex dress that she's looking for some horn dog to just go and hump her,
Okay, fair enough.
Doesn't that also, it really depends on which circles you're in or which people you have around you. Because when I maybe even dress like this, when I'm going into the town I grew up, people are like, oh, you look special or weird. But if I'm walking around like this in Amsterdam, it's fine and no one is looking at me. And I also think, sadly, that still is with like wearing short dresses or whatever.
But I think that's why these parties are gaining traction and popularity, because people can walk in and wear what they want to wear without the judgment from the normal world, so to speak. The people in the village with their views.
But that's the question. Do they get in? Because now there is this dress code. You have to have a little bit. You're also expected to show the freedom or your sexual side. Because if I don't know, if you go now in a club, one of these clubs, and you're with more dress, let's say, EDM style, like for Tomorrowland, a lot of glitter and here and there, I'm not sure if you would get allowed access.
What I found in my experience, witnessing it and working in clubs sometimes as well, is the doorbells as you enter a club are really good. They know what they're looking for. So if somebody turns up, they're not going to dismiss them instantly on how they look. They'll ask you about, do you know what the party is? Do you know who's playing? They start trying to quiz them a little bit to see if they know. And it's also gauging their enthusiasm as well. And it's like, if you're just coming here just for the sake of it, you don't know what's on, and you're going to get knocked back. And I remember there was one kinky Sunday I was standing behind this crowd of guys, and they were just dressed in jeans. They weren't done up. There was nothing fancy. The door host would let them in, but he was just trying to make sure, do you know that this is a predominantly queer party? You know, it was like 4 straight guys, and he's like, you know, it's gay. And they were foreign as well. So there was one person translating to the rest, and it took them saying one word, and the one at the back ran, and his mates followed him. So they would have got in even though they weren't dressed the way everybody else inside would be. But because they didn't know what the party was, what it stood for, that's why they were getting questioned. And I think as long as the door hosts, who are part of the event organisation, as long as they do the job, then it's fine. People will get in and they'll see for themselves. They'll either feel part of it or they won't. They'll come back, they won't. They'll learn from that, and then you'll start getting creative, because everybody has to start somewhere. You know, I mean, people ask me all the time, like, where do I get clothes or what do I do? And I don't mind helping and sharing tips with people, because everybody's been there at one point. And, you know, you've got to help the younger generation as well to feel comfortable as well, to express themselves. So.
But nobody has to go to those parties. I mean, they're saying if you want to go to this party, this is the dress code, predominant dress code, and this is going to be the predominant vibe. So it's basically saying, if this doesn't fit your vibe, then you should probably not come here. It's just like a little warning sign to the people who don't want to be there. And it's like a green light sign to the people who do want to be there.
Okay. So then now a little bit down to earth now with the fashion. So what are then different areas where you would go out for looking for new clothes here in area? What are your secret tips a little bit here in the areas where you sneak for the latest trends to wear?
I mainly just go to thrift shops or even free shops, like shops where people can bring clothes and then you can just pick it there for free. And I like that more because you really have to look for something you like instead of just like go to, I don't know, a random Zara or something, walk in and hey, that's the pants I like. And there are like 1,000 pieces of that. And if you go through thrift shop, it's really like you have to think about what do I already have? How can I dress up with like this and all the things I have, or with like necklaces and rings and whatever. And it really makes you think about who you are in the clothes you are wearing instead of just, hey, this piece is what I like. So yeah, I would say just go to thrift shops or look for these like smaller shops with, I don't know, even handmade stuff and things like that, or try to mix up fetish gear, whatever that for someone is, with like normal clothes. I think, yeah, just like you're doing a bit and I'm doing a bit. And just try to mix all those styles. I think that's like a way to go for me.
But you're also the kind of guy who then afterwards modifies, sews things together or takes it apart and reshapes it. So you're really doing the craftsman of or...
I used to do that a little bit and I would love to do it more, but since I'm living in a van now, I don't have a lot of space. So I end up not doing that anymore. But yeah, do that if you want. I mean, that's the thing about fashion. You can be as creative as if you want. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So what other places? What are other areas here in Amsterdam to explore?
There is like a raise in like some of the clubs like Tillatech and organizations like The Gang is Beautiful. They're bringing about events where young creative designers can come up with clothes, or they upcycle clothes. And they host events where there's like clothes swapping. They have little markets for shoes and clothes where people like upcycle them, and they have little parties. And it's not just diversity within genders or clothes, it's also diversity within beats as well. So you'll have some techno and then some Afro beats, and it's all very different and unique. And they make one-off pieces. Some of it's fetish, some of it's not. It's all very different. It's whatever the designers choose to bring, and they just offer like little stalls to people for like 50 or 80 euros, like a little desk. And people, young people or old people, like doesn't matter the age, they can just come up with their like selection of clothing, and then they can sell it to a market of people who go to parties and everything. So they do create events based around that. Also, looking at Etsy for like upcycled things that look very different. It's always nice to walk in and wear something a bit different.
Okay. So where do you find your treasures?
Surprisingly, I just stand there, thrift shops, or if I'm in London, a Camden Market, or pick up things, or online shopping. But I love a good sale. I very rarely buy anything at full price. And then what I tend to do is stick it in a cupboard, forget about it for a few years, and then bring it back out, and then start messing about, like altering it and things myself. Because I always have this fear. I had a friend at a wedding once, who just turned up in the same dress as someone else. I hate that. Right? But so I try to just a lot of basic items, and then it's mostly accessories I tend to use to jazz things up or make things different. Occasionally I'll hit up like Shein or Temu, or online, and find things there as well. But it's always really cheap because I don't have a lot of money at the moment either to spend on fashion. So it's just finding things and swapping with friends. I've got lots of friends who work in a lot of the shops that sell a lot of the fetish gear. Or when I go away, I love finding these wee sort of vintage boutiques or local boutiques with the local designers, and just buying odd pieces from that. And like you say, Alicia, it's mixing and matching what you've got rather than just having one big fancy outfit.
Okay.
So
But you mentioned, and also then you're going into these vintage stores to look for stuff inspire you. Do you also bring it back? Do you also the one that where you're just keeping it because someday I might now combine this with something else?
usually if I change weight and I go with 1 or 2 cycles up, then I'll donate stuff to things. But a lot of the time I buy things as well, and maybe won't fit in a cult water very often, and I gift it to friends, to share it about friends as well, because I'd rather say go into a good home and somebody I know. I've bought several things, and then it'll sit in a cupboard for 3 years, and then somebody will come in, my friend, and I'm like, remember that pair of shoes I bought? And gift it to them. So, because I'm not very good at returning things either.
Yeah, I usually, if I'm not wearing something anymore, I bring it either to a thrift shop or to a free shop or something. And we also have this big shared closet at our home where, like, if you don't wear anything or if you don't wear it a lot, we just put it in this very big shared closet, which is full of random pieces of clothing and all different styles because 15 people are putting their clothes in there. And that's also what I do if I don't wear something a lot. And that also makes you think about different styles and like, hey, this is a neon pink shirt, which I would never buy myself, but since it's in our shared closet, hey, let's try it sometime. So also inspire people by giving back your own clothes, I guess.
Oh, I often get like people just look at me like I'm just some like little trash puppy and say, "Hey, you need some clothes," and I get handed them, or I get really stoned and then stoned me buys clothes for me, and then sober me gets little presents. So
Okay. But you're keeping the stuff all at home,
on both.
or you just also bring it back
Oh,
from Polygram? It's time now to declutter and
yeah, I've been given clothes, and I sometimes like stoned me by stupid stuff. So I find someone, I donate it to them.
And you mentioned first something that was also very nice. Now the accessories, so that you are also then buying mostly accessories to different places. But what are then the fashion accessories that? What would be now if I would now go tomorrow? Now go out. What would it must wear as as accessories?
My favorite accessory is this belt that I got in Camden Market. A stall in Camden Market. It goes everywhere with me. Or these collars that I see, and I usually buy them when I'm at events. Like you say, it's young people and they're selling their things there. It's things like that. Or I've got this chain that I got from Pasha 20 years ago. I wore that that's about a month ago or something, and one of the DJs in the club came up, and just like, oh gee, recognized it. It didn't lie in a drawer for years, and then every so often I remember, pull it out. So it can be something like that with just a plain black outfit, but that chain gets you noticed. So just small things like that.
Okay.
To be fair, I have no clue because I always just pick random stuff and I'm like, okay, yeah, I guess this is fine. Or somewhere in a hidden drawer in my van, I find like, for example, I found this bracelet this morning, which I bought like, I think 6 years ago and I lost it. And then this morning I found it and I'm like, I think this is my favorite piece now. So yeah, it just goes up and down like random shit club together. But I actually do love rings a lot. I don't love them on myself because I hate my hands. But if I see people wear rings, I'm like, yes, that's hot. So I'd say just a lot of rings. But
Okay. That's just, yeah, fair enough.
Well, I always like to wear comfy shoes because, again, like 2 days of partying, it comes in useful. But then I saw Susie had these cool shoes, this little pocket. So like,
That's practical.
I want now I'm going to find things with shoes with secret pockets. That's on my list.
So she sets the trend now here.
Yes.
I have to follow. Yeah, that's fair enough.
Oh, and a bag that like holds not too much, but not too little. Because again, if you're going on to another place, you need to be able to store some bottles and things,
Bottles you'll get up.
if you're going to a rave and you need a bottle of gin and
Absolutely. I'm absolutely always jealous about the girls most of the time because they have these bags. They can carry all the stuff that they need, the phone, the keys, the parking ticket, whatever. You have to put all the time. I put everything in my pockets, looking around like a penguin, walking around. But then lately, I was with my son. Then also, I wanted to buy one of these bags where you can man bags. So I don't know what you call it.
Bags.
But then my son can say, no, you cannot buy that because it depends how you wear it, because he's also a little bit more on the fashion side. So he's going all the time on these platforms, and yeah, you have to dress this and here and there. And yeah, don't wear it that way because then you will be associated like this and that. You're too old for that or whatever. So yeah, so the accessories also define apparently.
Bikes have a challenge too, because if you're wearing fishnet tops, the zips, you will catch on every single person wearing a fishnet in that club.
Depends on the party, can be sick, but musst du sein Auto, sonst wäre ganz klassische
Fishnet. Yeah, that's how you talk to people. You're like, oh, hold on, we're attached. You have to disconnect from them.
or you could use it as a technique.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. I'll give you that one too.
But yeah, then also getting a little bit more to the sustainability you mentioned, and also the vintage. So reusing the things, giving it the second life. Young people who take the clothes, rebranding it kind of totally, and creating something new from it. Is it a trend, or will it be something that in the future will last?
Well, I don't know. There's a brand going around right now, and they're converting old school like men's suit jackets, and a lot of people are wearing them in clubs now. It's the gang is beautiful. You see, yeah, it's starting to creep in, and I think even Calvin Klein wants to pair with them. It's
Okay.
So I think there's a lot of people starting to really follow this trend.
I think as well as like a lot of the sustainability in the younger generation, unlike myself, who was born into a generation of just buy. I think they're a lot more conscious now of what they do with their clothing. So they are recycling, upcycling, using the vintage rather than filling up the landfills, which, is bad. And I shouldn't use Temu as often as I probably do. But I try to counter it by also just being more creative with other clothes as well. And it's not just the clubbing outwear. Most people have got, well, certainly me, you've got your run-of-the-mill day-to-day running about in your jeans, and you've maybe got going to an office, and then you've got your club. So when you're dealing with that many clothes, it's trying to see what you can reuse, what you can recycle, and rather than just throwing it in the bin. So I think the younger generation are definitely more switched on to this. Whether or not they're making their clothes, I don't know. I'd love to think that maybe they are. Something I enjoy doing, I'd love to get more into when I've got more time. But it certainly wouldn't do any harm to be more mindful of these things.
Yeah, I don't hope that sustainability is a trend. I really hope that we put effort in taking care of the planet and taking care of our future. And what you say, I don't think the young generation is actually making their own clothes more. I moved. Yeah, I think that would be nice if
Yeah.
we would do that. But I think there is still a lot of people who easily buy, like, I don't know how many pieces of clothing a week new at like whatever shitty store there is, instead of buying it secondhand. And I really hope we can influence people in a way that they see that there are already enough clones and we don't have to make more that end up in landfill. And like, yeah, I really hope we can get more conscious about that, and also think about fashion in a way that reuse is also a thing to do, instead of buying new things and like getting on with this new trend, whatever that is.
But will that also mean that the clothes will in quality increase, will be better quality, because the purpose will be that they should last longer? Will that also have an impact on that, on also on the materials chosen? So if you have more leather wear, or in your case the mask, I think it's mostly latex clothing. So these are supposed to last also a certain amount of time. So will that also be a trend, that there will be different materials more than others?
I think clothes that are being maybe handmade in smaller, like smaller stores or smaller, like owned companies. And for example, indeed, leather and latex can last very, very long if you take good care of it. But a t-shirt that you buy at H&M or something, that's not made to last long. That's made to last for, I don't know how many times you can wear that, but that's made to like break down fast so people buy new stuff. But indeed, if you take good care of your clothes, or maybe repair it yourself, or what you say, buy latex or leather or whatever, that's actually made to last longer. So yeah, that's also something to think about when you buy something.
Well, I have to admit, my Sheen and Hallara shopping is purely because they have those skirts with the shorts underneath and the pockets. Because all the clothes like that were made up until now, they do not have pockets for girls. It's like, no. Even the jeans
Take that
pockets.
bag. You will take that bag with you. That's the way it feels sometimes.
No, you do. It's just all like, even the jeans. It's like, yeah, like maybe I could put a gram of cocaine in there, but I can't put a wallet. No, I can't even put a key in to take with it. But no, that's how small the pockets are. So,
But that's why you have the side bag.
yeah, but
Or is it?
it's annoying having the bag as well, because then you got
So I'm complaining exactly the opposite, because I'm walking around with too many things in my pockets.
well,
And one
hopefully
pockets.
they'll start making clothes with like shoe pockets and dip pocket and that are special.
You can make it yourself. You can like grab a piece of fabric and make a shoe pocket, and then you can attach it to your sneaker.
Well, when I tried to sew a button on because the button was coming off my jacket, I actually sewed the button off. Now I don't know if that's an actual how if there's a skill behind that, but I just did the opposite. So I'm really not that good with this. I'm really good at not being good at it. I'm good at being bad at it. So, and I've tried.
But yeah, there's actually these really cool bags. I got one recently.